Figured I would do a roundup of the character that I've been playing for the league. Seismic Trap. This is not something that is too new. It's not something that is innovative. It's a build that was designed to get going. It was a build to help me complete the Atlas, which it has done. It's complete the Atlas. It was a build, if we go to my fragment tab, helped me kill elders, shapers, Sirises, etc. The amount of money I spent on this build, which is like what most people are interested in, was I spent, if we price check, 10C on each of these daggers. I had a solo self-found belt with resistances and life. Now you look at this belt, this has 100 life and 130 res. I have a helmet with 94 life, a 20 resistance and some crafted res. It also has no blue or red orbs that are of any value to the build. Maybe a little bit of crit chance for spells, but chance to ignite does nothing. The only sort of semi-decent piece of gear is a +1 to physical skill gem amulet, which costs 10C. With the multi involved, it's 80 chaos. I've found this. This is, again, not too wildly expensive. You could probably find one with life and the fizz and then craft the multi, or you could slam them together using the new jewelry recombinators. So what you would do is you'd take your jewelry recombinator, you would put in a +1 amulet, you would put in a nice resist or other amulet that you want with your stats and slam them together and hope that the mod of the +1 carries across. Once again, solo self-found. They are life, 1 resistance and a crafted res. And this one was purchased for roughly, I think it was like 5 to 10 chaos at the time. It was quite expensive for a league sort of start kind of piece of gear. And I put a little quality of resistance on there just to help cap me. The last piece of gear you're looking at are some boots and some gloves. Originally, what I ended up using was a pair of Deerstalker boots. Now, what Deerstalker boots do is they give you basically, like, I think it's like level 18 or level 20 trap. So what you can do is then put a 4 link in, it becomes a pseudo 5 link, and then you can throw out exsanguinate traps. Eventually, after using those boots, which only cost 1C by the way, I bought a pair of shaper gloves and I chaos spammed them until ideally you have trap level, you know, you have a level 20 trap, but I had level 20 trap and mind damage. So what I've ended up doing is putting in cluster traps, chain, trap and exsanguinate, and now I have a 5 link on my gloves, which allows me to get some boots with more resist, more life. There are options in the path of building which will be linked, which isn't mine, it's one I found, where you can go to higher tier gear. Higher tier gear is, again, gear that you can find yourself. This is through completing the syndicate. She can drop one of these, which she did, and when you put this helmet on, it basically, you can see here, gives you a load of energy shield, which becomes mana. You will see that if I take off life tap here and I begin to throw my traps, you'll see here how it is now charging, and I don't really need anything more than this. Now what this allows you to do is take out life tap and put in concentrated effect. Now this might mess up your resistances, but with how cheap the gear is, I could go and spend 5 to 10 chaos and buy a belt and cap myself. It's not expensive. My friend who's at the top of the build, sort of the top high end, his damage is around, I think, about 180k in his hideout. Mine is 66 unbuffed, so I'm clearing the whole game and I'm like half his damage. So if you want to get a +2 skin of the loyal, you want to get a better amulet, you want to get all this kind of stuff to soup up your damage, it's out there, but you can really play the build from the get-go. And I just wanted to throw out this simple video just to say it's a build that I've played and I've found to be very, very good. I'll probably end up putting on this helmet and then buying a chest piece and putting in conk effect, and then that will be that for the character, and I'll move on to something else. Then you just run around and you can see that with you know, it just deletes everything pretty much. That is a double essence, you know, with like, it was like 5 shriekings with 46% max life with no pots on pretty absolute budget gear, and it does it absolutely fine. So the build is one of those builds where you can absolutely scrimp and save, and that's basically what I wanted to do. I wanted a build that required basically no currency, just life and resists, and everything that drops, like an Exalted Orb or a Divine Orb or whatever, an Astrogali, whatever it may be, I could save. And I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm struggling with this tier 15, I'm struggling with this map, I need to upgrade. You can save everything and maybe put it into a different build or put it into yeah, just something a little bit different. We'll leg it to the boss here, so you can see. We'll do, you know, no pot boss kill, just portal here. So you drop all your stuff. Let's just clear this out here. There we go. Here's the boss. Curse him up, drop all your stuff, and look at this. Just standing there, hands-free gameplay, killing the tier 13 boss with impale, fire damage, blah blah blah, you know, endurance charge, 46% monster life. Crack open this, spam all your traps out, defend your corner with 0 flasks on the build. You know, here's the boss respawning here. Curse him up. You can dash away. Got some toxic stuff following me here. Now, obviously, if I had some life flasks, life would be a little bit easier right now. But you can see, even just kiting him around, putting your traps around, just running around, one-hand gameplay, whilst explaining the build and stuff, it's absolutely fine. I don't think there's many builds that you can play in such a brain-dead fashion with such a little amount of gear that works so well. I've got to hand it to you know, the maker of the build. It does work very, very well. And you know, I just wanted to throw this video up and explain that that's kind of all you need. You can go to the higher level. I'll show you if you bring up the path of building. And then once you've imported the path of building, you go to the trap build. It's basically in the skill section. You have a setup before you get your diadem and a setup after. You can end up with whirling blades afterwards. And the items, you can see the extreme budget gear is some +1 to skill gems wands, which are basically 1 chaos orb, no, not even exaggerating, and a tabula and a deer stalker. This is literally like 20 C of gear to clear a tier 16. I'm not exaggerating, that is what it does. You know, some builds say, oh, you only need this gear and it'll do tier 16, and it just doesn't. No, with literally 1 C1s, a tabula, and some resistance caps, this will actually clear the game. Once you go to the medium budget, you have your cold points. You can get a +2 Skin of the Lords. You can get some Xeri Slink boots for speed and spell suppression, and that way you're not paying extra because they're uniques and they're cheap. You can end up with +1 skill gem amulet, better rings, a better belt, all that good stuff, right? A seismic trap rare enchant. Now, if you want to go to the bigger budget, you can get cold points, a Skin of the Lords, you can get Shaper gloves, you can get an Ashes of the Stars, which is Omega money. You don't need that. That's like 50x. You really, literally don't need that. I would just get a big +1 amulet. You can get the Herald of Purity rings, which allows you to use Pride, so you can get a whole extra aura in there. You can get a Stygian Vice, jewels, all of this stuff, right? It scales ridiculous. Yeah. So it's a really good scaling build. The jewels, by the way, could be like trap damage and all of that. I've ended up with just max life. They don't even have multi on. So the jewels, yeah, the jewels should have multi on, but mine don't because I'm a cheapo. One thing I will note is I leveled up a little bit more, and I ended up taking this node, so you can't be affected by corrupting blood, which is just really nice. And my resistances, if you take a look, are positive chaos, and capped. The nice thing about this build is because it's so cheap and you only need resistances, you can end up getting, you know, your fire and chaos res and all of this stuff, fire and chaos res, and end up capping out your build very nicely with chaos res. And I think with the way the league is, you need that. The other build I'm playing doesn't have capped chaos. I'm like -60 and it's pretty hellish, so I'm going to try fix that. But this was the build. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the content, maybe drop me a follow. In the description will be the link tree. If you head over to the link tree, you've got my main channel, my alternate sports channel, Twitter, where to watch me live, how to get a free sub. You can become a member. I've got TikTok, Instagram. If you want to see what equipment I use, here's all the equipment I use to make my videos and all of that good stuff. Yeah, there's all that going on. Tons of stuff. So